pain inflicts. I know I bleed for it.
That was pretty much both music to my eyes and to my ears. That what you saw right there is the official teaser announcement trailer for that new upcoming Dark Alliance, Dungeons and Dragons Dark Alliance, which is pretty much the reboot or the sequel for the back then cult classic Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance. Now, well, do we welcome back you beautiful, beautiful gamers to Role-Playing James, where we like to talk about video games in this little lone corner in the internet. And today we're gonna be talking about that, what you saw right there. We're gonna talk about everything that we know about the game, let's say gameplay, story, and release date, which the developers have stated, like the window for the release date, and I'm pretty amazed that no one out there is covering in this thing. Let's talk about this game. This is being developed by 2K Games, a rather rookie company right now subsidiary to Wizards of the Coast. If we talk about their credentials, while they're not that extensive, they are quite promising to say the least, and I would even venture and be as bold as to say that they are pretty solid and amazing. They don't have that many games in their bags, rather they have just one, Lifelock, which released back in 2016, and is a top-down action RPG as well, and while the reception was quite a mixed one, it leaned more into the positives. If you want my personal opinion, I think it's just a solid game to play, and one of the most pleasant surprises I've had with top-down ARPGs in the modern gaming. Now, as far as the gameplay, we have quite a lot of interesting details, which we are going to discuss extensively. We're talking about a reboot of the cult classic Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance that was released back in 2002. The developers have stated publicly quite a healthy number of features that we can expect from the game. According to a press release, Dark Alliance, quote, combines the pulse-pounding action of hack-and-slash dungeon crawler with progression and loot systems of a role-playing game, all from a third-person perspective. In theory, it should feel much faster than Dragon Age game, end of quote. Quote, the game is structured with a non-linear story, end of quote, and then Elliot says, quote, you can unlock different quests at difficulty times and choose your own pace, end of quote. And then quote, one thing we're doing that's a bit different is that each quest has a hero character or showcases a particular monster, end of quote. Elliot says again, quote, we try to really shine a light on that in each mission, end of quote. The game will mostly be strongly focused on the multiplayer, but you can also play in single player as well if you so desire. And if you choose to play that way, you'll be able to switch between the 4 playable characters, which are Drizzt, Catelbrai, Wolfgar, and Bruenor, all famed heroes from the Forgotten Realms. And well, if you played the original Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance, then you know it's this top-down action RPG, but something interesting in here is that they are mentioning that Dungeons and Dragons Dark Alliance is going to be played based on the third-person camera angle perspective. It will be interesting to see that how that develops. And also, if you take a look at the credentials of these guys, again, the game that they have in the market right now is again ARPG, top-down ARPG, which pretty much, well, they do have their experience, and like I mentioned before, it's a solid game to play right now. I personally enjoyed it quite a lot. I found it to be really an interesting game. Apparently this game won't be like the standard that we have right now for open world areas or different regions or sections of the game divided in different places, but rather you'll take on missions with your companions or players or friends, and they do strongly mention and focus that you will be able to play this thing in single player, but they have said many times that the most awesome experience that you will get from this game is by playing with friends. On the storytelling department, we can be sure that at the very least it looks promising as well. The game follows the events of Salvatore's Crystal Shard novel that was published back in 1988. Quote, following the events of the Crystal Shard, this artifact is now known, so word spreads quickly, end of quote, then quote, monsters from all around the realms descend upon Icewind Dale to claim the shard for themselves, end of quote. Quote, they understood the characters, end of quote, Salvatore said, referring to the original pitch 2K made for the game. Quote again, video games are very different than novels, but the storytelling is the main aspect that's different. I wanted the characters to capture what I tried to capture in the books in general, and Jeff got it. He knew who they were. The people who I was talking to actually read the books. It was incredibly easy, end of quote. Now, R.A. Salvatore has actually been involved in the project at some extent as a consultant, and what we hear from him is really like promising, because like they mentioned, it's really hard to make this transition between games and books. I am just a huge fan of R.A. Salvatore and his novels in the world mythos of the Forgotten Realms. His work was actually so close to me during my college days, but I'm a pretty much a nerd when it comes to heroic fantasy literature. It's just one of my personal niches that I just love to read. I worked it deeply and throughout my college career. Now, this is really promising because when we talk about like literature and stories being taken over to movies and video games, fans always tend to be on edge because how they handle the narrative and the characters and the personalities, and well, usually people tends to take a whole lot of liberties when they develop these things, but at least right now in here we can be sure that the game is in good hands, at least from the point of narrative kind of standalone point of view. R.A. Salvatore has been consultant in this project. He has been there involved in the project and he gave the green light. He said, I know these dudes, I've talked to them, they have read my stuff. I trust that they can actually deliver something beautiful. And well, I actually trust in Salvatore's word as well. Now let's get over the juicy, the release date. The game was supposed to be launched on fall of 2020, but COVID. After little to nothing was known about the development progress, back in June they posted 4 concept art images that you can see right here right now, but alongside there was no word on release date, window or developing progress. So I decided to dig a little bit deeper in this stuff. And a little while not so long ago, in last month, actually November 2020, they said on their social media that the game will be launching in 2021 and that we will be getting more news next year. So there you have it, folks. Everything's fine, everything's cool, and soon we'll get to experience this beautiful thing. I was so excited researching about this thing because the more and more I read, I'm just a huge fan of this kind of games. I'm not that old, like the Dark Alliance, the original Dark Alliance is kind of a cult game and might actually have passed the most younger generation of gamers. Like I mentioned before, I'm not that old, I'm actually quite young. I like to believe at least, but I did grow up playing these games: Neverwinter Nights 1 and 2, Baldur's Gate, Icewind Dale, Diablo. I mean, just also Dungeon Siege, which is quite of a unnoticed game as well, that in my opinion, got butchered with the 3rd entry. But anyways, that was all for today's video. Do let me know, guys, in the comments below, what do you think about this game? Do you think it's gonna be amazing, or do you think it's going to suck? And tell me why. And with that being said, I'll see you beautiful. Don't you ever forget that each and every single one of you are beautiful people. Stay awesome, stay safe. I'll see you later.